Hi, I'm Johnny Good for Real Home Studio, and today I'm sharing my first thoughts of the Presonus Faderport 2 and comparing it to the old Faderport Classic. Just before I dive in and start sharing my first thoughts of the Faderport 2, please do remember to like and subscribe, and if you've got something to say, please drop it in the comments box below. So I'll be doing a full review of the Faderport 2 over the next coming weeks as I put it through its paces, but I wanted to share with you some of my first thoughts, particularly when comparing it to the Classic. And what a classic it is. It really was a game changer when I first got the Faderport, as it has been for so many home studio owners, and just brought mixing and working in the studio much more to life, a much more tactile experience, and just took a lot of the workload off the mouse. So the first thing you're going to see is certainly a size difference, about a third of the size bigger. So if space is of a premium on your desk, this might not be a welcome change, but I'm still pleased to see the bigger size, because the slightly bigger size means bigger buttons, particularly around these shuttle controls here, which is a very welcome change for me. And a bit more info about those buttons. On the original Faderport Classic, they were, well, hard and creaky and just didn't feel nice. On the new Faderport 2, they're a lot more squidgy and tactile under the finger. You don't feel like you have to really press them super hard like I kind of felt with the Classic. And when the light begins to dim, the colors behind the buttons really come to life. It's very brightly lit, and I like working in colors. I respond very well to colors, and it's very quick to find the buttons that you want and get very used to the Faderport 2 very quickly. The button layout has changed somewhat on the Faderport 2 compared to the Faderport Classic, but it still has a number of things that have stayed the same. It still has that lovely full-scale automated fader, which is powered by a 12-volt adapter. It still has a foot switch input and a USB connection to your computer. The welcome change is a power switch on the back of the Faderport, so you can turn it on and off. This rather small and fiddly and not very nice feeling pan knob on the Faderport Classic has also been replaced by this much more tactile and larger knob in the center of the Faderport 2. And while everything feels bigger and better on the Faderport 2, it still manages to maintain its selling point of being a desk-friendly home studio production controller compared to many of the others on the market. Now, back to those buttons, a couple of things that I've noticed over the last couple of days, and the first thing is a bit of a niggle. Now, on the original Faderport Classic, you can see here, undo. We've got an undo button, and it's a popular button. If you're working and you're mixing, you know the undo button is one which you want to just grab to all the time. But on the Faderport 2, if you want to undo or indeed redo, you're going to have to press the shift button first and previous or next. So it's a bit more fiddly and not a primary command from one of the buttons. Another command button which I used to use a lot on the Faderport Classic is the mix button, which is used to alternate between the editor window and the mixing console. On the Faderport 2, however, you now have to press shift and section, so it's another secondary command. But niggles aside, I love the Faderport 2. It was so easy to install. It works seamlessly with Studio One. It's very tactile. It's very nice to use. The buttons feel great. I love all the colors behind the buttons. I love its look and its feel. It's just a win-win for me, and I think a really great upgrade from a designed Classic, which, let's not forget, set a lot of us free in our home studios and helped us to really get that feel and control over our mixes. So overall, for my first impressions of the Presonus Faderport 2, it's a massive thumbs up. I'm really looking forward to working with it more and sharing with you a more in-depth review over the next upcoming weeks. I do hope you found today's video useful. If you did, please remember to like, subscribe, and have yourself a great day.